What's happening, my fellow ghouls and ghoulettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay Chris. Now, in the midst of talking about Halloween ends today, I want to talk about Halloween 2018. So much so, I want to talk about the original ending that was filmed, but we never got, and was replaced with the ending that we have at the end of 2018 with Laurie's house burning down and Michael being trapped in the basement. Keep in mind that some shots of the original ending made it into some trailer footage and some promotional footage. But it's actually a very interesting read, and the original concept was very intriguing to me, and I kind of dug it. But it's one of those endings where if this had happened, we would not have got Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So the basic premise of the original ending is that Laurie and Michael go out onto the yard out the front of her house and have a good old-fashioned knife fight. Michael mortally wounds Laurie, and Michael's also wounded by Karen, who shoots Michael with a fucking crossbow. That sounds epic. Michael then wanders off into the woods where Laurie's target practice mannequins are, slumps down on a log, and supposedly takes his last breath. So I'm going to be going off an article from Screen Rant that was published last year in 2021. It goes into a bit more detail and why David Gordon Green decided to change the ending to the ending that we have now in 2018. Director David Gordon Green's Halloween 2018 originally ended differently that made it into theaters, which was fortunate because the alternate version was a far less fitting conclusion to the story of Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. In the final cut, Laurie, with a major assistance from daughter Karen and granddaughter Allison, saw Michael successfully locked in her basement bunker as it went up in flames. 3 surviving generations of Strode women then escaped in a truck as the house burned, seemingly ending Michael's reign of terror. In reality, the outcome set up a trilogy with 2 planned sequels. So I did some more reading into it, and I always thought that David Gordon Green and Danny McBride just wanted to do Halloween 2018 and wrap everything up, but apparently they wanted to do Halloween 2018 and another sequel and then call it a day. But then Blumhouse and Miramax were like, let's just see how this goes. Just do your one film for now, and then the film ends up making nearly $250 million. So of course they're like, yes, sequel, do whatever you want. Here, make a trilogy, quadrilogies, do whatever the fuck you want. And we have what we have now. A previous version of the script's final moments surfaced, however, featuring a very different conclusion. While trying to protect her granddaughter, Laurie and Michael fought again in one last confrontation that left her mortally wounded after the masked killer stabbed her in the chest and twisted the knife. Laurie's daughter then shot Michael with a crossbow, and he fell amongst Laurie's training mannequins before taking what appeared to be his last labored breath. With the symbolism of Michael succumbing to his wounds among the evidence of Laurie's decades of training may have been compelling, it's the fact that Laurie died too that would have undermined the story. In fairness, the character had been killed before. First, when Curtis declined to return for Halloween for the return of Michael Myers, and Laurie was written off of having died in an auto accident. The next death came after the events of Halloween H2O, where it was revealed she'd faked her death and hid under a pseudonym. The difference is that when Michael finally bested Laurie in Halloween Resurrection, the loss felt earned because she'd escaped him so many times before. But 2018's Halloween disregarded previous sequels and served as a continuation of the original 1978 film only. This version of Laurie encountered Michael only once before and had planned for the rematch ever since. Dying in her first encounter would have been a disappointing end to an iconic character who has proven herself as equal match against Michael Myers for the past 40 years. Audiences seemingly agreed as the film underwent reshoots following initial test screenings, with the feature originally billed as Laurie and Michael's final confrontation. Expectations were at least one of them would die. However, after exploring Laurie's PTSD and the consequences of raising her daughter in a manner befitting Terminator's Sarah Connor, anything but an uncontested victory would have felt like a disservice to Laurie's journey and to the film itself. Producer Ryan Turek weighed in on Halloween's ending, saying, "What we ultimately went with delivered more of what you want to see on both a cat and mouse stalk and kill level, as well as emotionally fulfilling a lot of character arcs we set up." So I totally understand where this article is coming from. Again, the original ending that was shot, that some shots have appeared in trailers, promotional stuff. I remember seeing that certain shot of Laurie holding the knife up in what looks like her front yard, and you see a little bit of Michael, and when I watched the 2018 film, I thought, where the fuck was that? Turns out that's part of the original ending. So from a simplistic point of view, I love this ending, but I don't like the fact that Laurie dies. And I think when it comes to editing, you can edit it in a way when Michael wanders off into the forest and slumps down amongst the target practice mannequins, as he's taking that last breath, I think the camera should not linger on Michael long enough to hear that final breath. It's just spaced out. His breaths get spaced out more and more, and then it cuts possibly back to Laurie on the lawn bleeding out, but we don't hear Michael again. I think instead of Laurie dying, because it just feels all for nothing, we could cut to 4 years later to the end of Halloween Ends when she's finishing writing her memoirs. Obviously Karen is still alive and she's reconnected with Karen. She's reconnected with her granddaughter. But then also you got to answer the question, is Hawkins still alive? Or we could go straight into the beginning of Halloween Kills, where they go to find Michael amongst the target practice mannequins and he's gone, and then we can start up Halloween Kills, minus all the evil dies tonight bullshit. But then you probably have a bedridden Laurie because she's mortally wounded if they decide to let her live. But in an alternate universe, there is something very appealing about this ending. I like the simplicity of it. A good old-fashioned knife fight between Laurie Strode and Michael Myers. Karen nails him one with a crossbow, he's mortally wounded, and he wanders off. And I think that's where it hones back to Halloween 1978, just how simple it was. Like, he was able to be shot 6 times, have a knitting needle in his neck, a coat hanger in his eye, and he still wanders off. He's not getting barraged by a fucking mob and stuff like that and a pitchfork in the back. And then the simplicity of Michael being shot with a crossbow after having his fingers blown off, being shot in the arm and just wandering off into the forest and bleeding out, or thinking that he's bled out. We don't linger on him enough to see him take his next breath, or if he's just taken his last breath and died. I have no idea why they haven't released this ending as bonus features on the Blu-ray for 2018. I hope one day when they do a big fuck off collection box set 4K, you know, Hungus Chungus Fungus, that they include this ending. Like, they've shot it, they edited it from my understanding, so it'd just be cool to see. And there's so many behind the scenes photos of James Hugh Courtney sitting amongst the mannequins there, like in between takes, just having a breather, or should I say lack of, if that's what they're going for. The more I think about it, it would have been cool to start Kills like that, but then I think it just gets too convoluted, messy, and then obviously, regardless, if Laurie lives, you're gonna have her bedridden for the entire film, much like she was in Halloween Kills, and it just takes away from the original story that we love. So ghouls and ghoulettes, with that being said, what are your thoughts on this ending? Is it something you dig? I obviously don't like the part of Laurie Strode dying. I think it's just all for nothing, too quick. I do like the idea of Michael taking his last breath and then cutting to say 4 years later, like the events of Halloween Ends, where Laurie is writing her memoirs and stuff like that. But at the same time, you have a lot of unanswered questions. So from a storytelling standpoint, it just gets too fucking messy. But at the same time, it's an interesting ending, and I would definitely love to see it one day in its full cut glory. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be doing my spoiler stream for Halloween Ends. I originally was gonna do it today, but I woke up and I saw that Dave McRae and Tony Michael are doing Two Dudes and Some Bullshit and watching Halloween Ends. I saw that Frank and Darren over at the Slaughtered Lamb podcast are doing their best and worst of Halloween Ends. And then I saw that Mike and Jay are gonna be doing a stream today. So I'm like, fuck that. I got too much stuff to watch today. I wanna watch those guys do their thing. So tomorrow I'm gonna do my spoiler stream and just do a good old fashioned Q&A, because it's been a week and a bit since I've done a live video. I have figured out finally to use this fucking camera for my live streams. So I'm definitely getting there, and I appreciate you guys being very patient with these live streams. Holy shit, the first one was great. I'm also going to be doing ranking the overall looks of Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street, much like I did a couple of days ago with Michael Myers, just ranking the overall aesthetic. And then this coming Monday, I'm off to Canada, so I'm frantically trying to just do all the logistics stuff, get my visa, pack. I got to pack down Pirate Batman. Eddie Munson still has to be finished off. I had to get a brand new wig. The original wig was just way too black and just did not look right. So the new wig that I've got has arrived today. I've got to go over to Mum and Dad's to pick that up. I'm then going to go back to the hairdresser and get Juanita to style it. I've got to finish up just little details here and there. Brand new contact lenses have arrived, so I am documenting everything. I'm gonna have to do the video when I get back from Canada though. I'm just running out of time. There is so much shit to do, but I'm so excited at the same time. I'm gonna be doing a vlog over there. It's gonna be a massive trip to get there. I've got to do Sydney, Toronto, Montreal, Halifax in one go. I'm going to be so exhausted. Guys, wherever you are in the world, please have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, ghouls and ghoulettes, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.